Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you might be. I am Nicole BC, and you know everything. Hey, friend. We've been on a bit of an AI kick. As you know, if you've been listening for the last few episodes, it felt important. It probably will continue to do so. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But last week we talked about uncoupling, the conscious uncoupling of work and identity. And here in the United States, if you ask someone about themselves, they will define themselves as their job title. We think of ourselves as our work. And so as new technologies get introduced, meaning something is going to be better at your work than you, we start to question who we really are. And for those of you who haven't been paying attention for that long, I moved to a small town a couple of years ago with this somewhat unexplainable urgency to anchor in to community and to identity and to each other, to humans. And for those of you who haven't been paying attention at all, I have typically been a pretty lone wolf. I have traveled this world many times over in large groups, but ultimately by myself in my own role, doing my own thing. And so the idea of kind of moving for community and moving for connection to both build and create, but also serve was really different. Didn't make a lot of sense. I had the opportunity to really consciously decouple my identity from my work when I left music, my career of like over 20 years. I didn't know who I was without the job title of band manager. I still talk a lot about my music career and working with art and artists. Sometimes I wonder how consciously I have uncoupled. But I've realized that one of the reasons it comes up so often is it truly has provided me with this framework, this blueprint. One of the things I talk about in almost every single episode is how do you build success? And I kind of think about it like a baby emerging artist builds a network. And as per always, this isn't about just making money. For me, work is really about finding your passion and taking it seriously. If you never get paid for that, but you found the thing that fulfills you and sustains you, that's it, man. That's all I'm trying to do here. So what I continually kind of loop on, I write about in my weekly loop, is how can we find some structures to support us so that even on our worst days, we can still show the fuck up and get her done. Whatever that looks like, it might be taking a nap. So as AI begins, overtakes so much of our day to day, we're suddenly confronted with a demand to really understand who we are and why we do what we do, not just how or when, but for what reasons. It sounds cute to recognize like I am not my work, but when your job doesn't exist anymore, your industry potentially shifts so dramatically that none of the jobs in it make any sense. It's like, yeah, sure, BZ, I can take my fucking passion seriously. That sounds great, but like also bills, question mark. So this is what I want to talk about today. If AI can better output and then replicate and leverage that output, what can we do that is good enough? If AI becomes the definition of competence, what defines our excellence? What AI cannot ever replicate is being human, being a real human in real life. And there are a lot of people who were blissed out during the 2020 sort of revolution because they didn't have to touch other people. They didn't have to really engage other people. They got to kind of hermit, and I applaud those people. I believe we're all wired differently, and that's one of the most amazing things about this world and this technology is we're each going to be able to find our little corner, our little microcosm, and make it our own. And there will be more than enough people or bots out there that you can do your thing with. I personally realized I had been spending most of my time thinking about scaling exponentially. How can I build business that outlives myself? How can I build business that supports hundreds, if not thousands of people? How can I build business that sells to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, potentially even millions of people? And those were all really amazing, really entertaining, really inspiring challenges and opportunities for me to explore. And on some levels, I saw that through. And on others, I failed miserably. Most of it was somewhere in between. I don't think it matters so much where I've been, what I talked about, what I was fascinated by, as it does what matters to me right now. And if you are feeling like the edges, the competitive edges, the inspiring edges, the sharp and painful edges are starting to dull, all that means is you're with me here. I'm with you. We're asking different questions. What matters to us now has changed and evolved. I've talked ad nauseum about values. They should change. When the world changes around you, when lives disappear up here in your own, it's going to change your trajectory. And what matters most might shift. If you're no longer inspired by the things that used to light you up, that's a good sign. It's kind of time to figure out, what do you want? That is going to very much affect what you believe your identity to be. And spoiler alert, you might have multiple, not in like a weird schizophrenic way, but you're going to be traveling worlds in your own metaverse. And there are a bunch of labels we can apply to ourselves. I encourage you to make sure that they are all malleable, they are shape-shifting, they are chameleon-like, but full permission to play through a variety of identities. Some might feel comfortable, some might feel like a stretch, some might feel fake. The new edge is not how impressive you are. The new edge is how human you can be. And again, not for branding, not for your fucking social media feed, not for this conversation. When you trust you, you will be able to engage and build and create with people on a completely different level because they will trust you and vice versa. So, as per usual, I'm going to talk about this through my favorite lens of entrepreneurship and world building. And I hope that some of the things in this episode resonate to a point where it feels like that's the structure that you're looking for. That's the framework. Potentially that's the reframe. But how can you own yourself, your viewpoint, your voice, so you're not thinking about the technology taking you over? That's not possible. It can only actually support and help you when you know your distinct, you know what I'm going to say, your distinct magic in this world. Okay, so hear me out. I know the whole magic thing. If your edge, this is the part where I go, wait, are we recording? Check. It doesn't matter how many times I do that at the beginning of the episode. If your edge was built on being faster, smarter, liked, being more polished, more productive, being the person who could crank it out, the yes man, the team, what's the word? When you just show up on teams? Oh, ringer, the team ringer. It might feel like AI just kicked the table leg out from under you. So I've never believed in competition. I think, the bigger the pie, the more everybody eats. But it sounds like everyone's kind of worried about the competition that AI is going to introduce. And therefore, we then think about it in this binary, this level 2. I don't want to lose. What's my advantage? What's my SWOT analysis, right? And it's beginning to get a little Hunger Gamey out there. Not gonna lie. I think I used that analogy like 6 times this week. Our human advantage is not just soft skills. Women, you know what I'm talking about? Our advantage is whatever it is that becomes more valuable when it gets automated. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but trust, judgment, context, taste, integrity, relationship, follow through. These are things you can't download. An agent can't do this for you. You embody these values. So this is the good news. It means the game is not who can produce the most. The game is who can be relied upon. Who can we trust? Who can make sense of this mess? Who can build something with other humans? I think a lot of us have realized everything we were kind of working on up until this moment might not work, might not matter, might not light us up anymore. So if you're listening, which you are, if you heard those words, I know you're building. I know you're creating. You're here for what you want to take seriously, your business. Maybe you're here for your community. Maybe you're here for communities, partnerships, relationships, family. And despite what your definition of those words might look like, I know mine looks very, very different than the traditional models that are out there. I don't know if there's ever been a better time to create these things. This is why I make this podcast. This is why I do the work that I do. I truly believe we are on the precipice of being able to create everything you and I have been talking about probably most of our adult lives. The kind of thing that everybody else told us, you're crazy, you're never going to make that happen. I think we've done it in our own little magical ways, but now it's time to do it together, do it with the people that matter. I just hung out with my neighbors from across the street. They had a baby. I think he is 8 months old, maybe 10 months old. So you know what it's like trying to get out of the house. And, other neighbors are walking by and we're saying hi and we're introducing ourselves. And I don't think I'd ever done that in most of my adult life. That's what matters. That's what matters to me now. So let's get to the business part, right? The World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs Report 2025 is very clear that the skills rising in importance aren't technical. Leadership and social influence is up. Talent management is up. Service orientation and customer service is up. In the Loop, I released a study on the research being done to help leaders and owners and founders alleviate stress in their workplace because people are so worried about the competition of AI. Human-facing skills get more important as the technical layer gets automated. An MIT Sloan research report in 2025 also emphasizes that AI is more likely to complement human workers than replace them. And it points to the value of human capabilities like empathy and emotional intelligence. The OECD's AI and work topic page highlights trust and implementation issues and notes that the training and worker consultation are associated with better outcomes. Translation, even when AI is helping, humans still have to make it work. Humans still have to trust it. Humans still get to carry the accountability for the outcomes. So if you feel like being a human is actually becoming more important than ever, you are correct. In the Loop, I've been talking a lot about this data, and the reality is it's creating a lot more work right now because we need to validate and humanize almost everything AI is putting out at this point. And yeah, I know that's going to change. Use AI as a tool. Notice where it's showing up as a crutch. Nothing that it produces yet is eclipsing the way you think, the way you synergize. So I've talked to a lot of neurospicy people who love that it can produce a draft that they can then edit. That's a fantastic place for them to start, and it helps them with their own sort of executive, dysfunction. I've also talked to people who are acting like it can write for them. It is incredibly noticeable. And that's lazy. That's a crutch. If you're using AI to create so much content that you're just trying to keep up with the content machine that's out there, that's what I'm talking about in terms of outsourcing your identity, outsourcing your voice to something, and you're essentially succumbing to the competition. One heartfelt, resonant piece of art will trump 100 pieces of AI bullshit. There, I said it, at me. So here is what I am seeing and what the research is backing up. Generative AI makes it easier to produce a lot of material quickly, and it also introduces accuracy, explainability, and context issues that have to be managed. MIT Sloan has a workforce intelligence report that talks about how some people recommend using AI to augment human-created material rather than creating from scratch. Leaders are choosing use cases where error risks are acceptable. Translation: the work doesn't disappear. The work changes. You move from create to decide, verify, contextualize, and own the consequences. I think I talked about this in an earlier episode. I am using AI to help me do research. I spent the first couple of years of this podcast not backing anything up because I didn't feel like the need to prove myself was necessary in my own art. And also the idea that I can do a sweep and a crawl and get cutting edge studies that are being published right now that are peer reviewed, that use the scientific formula to prove theories that I am also thinking about. It's incredibly validating. It's kind of fucking cool for a brain that loves learning. This has made things really efficient. I'm having fun with it, but I also reported a bunch of hallucinations. I said some shit that wasn't fucking right, but I was doing that before and always. So I'm talking out of my ass, everybody. It's just a different kind of work when you're using AI as a tool. And I think it's just important to, your values, recognize this is shifting and it deserves constant review. There's a difference between making art and then using this tool to help edit, validate, defend, but come back to your art always. There is additional research explicitly mapping AI limitations in business, with accountability and trust showing up as key forces. I think we need to stop talking about AI replacing everybody. The research is suggesting AI produces volume, and then humans become more responsible for judgment. The people who win are the ones who are acutely aware of their own discernment, taste, integrity, and relationship capital. That's a human advantage. You know your friends who, when they recommend something, you're like, yes, please, I'm doing that. And then you have other friends that recommend things and you're like, yeah, whatever. That's what I'm AI can put together a list for you. Would you trust that list more than a tastemaker in your sphere who has consistently traveled, eaten, listened to, watched things that have piqued your interest or made you a better person? I know you can train the model, but I'm curious, would you rather pick up the phone or text a friend, or talk to the robot? Actually, as I say that, I know it's kind of either or, right? I think about, I would never do one or the other. I would run by, I think someone in my neighborhood just built an app that after about 50,000 questions, it will recommend local restaurants and menu items based on your food preferences. That's cool. I'm still gonna check with a friend to see if they've been there, what their experience was like. There's this new fancy Mexican. I'm not gonna go there. But everybody's talking about it, and it was completely full. We were so lucky to even get a seat when we went there. And the service was average. The food was priced accordingly. And the sweet potato was delicious, but was it $24 worth of sweet potato? Quite frankly, I don't know what $24 of sweet potato could possibly look like. And I don't really care. It's not that it was quote unquote expensive. But there's a wow factor that all of the AI reviews missed. So little tactical, real world tips here, things I like you to test because it's never for me to tell you what to do. Let's create the human advantage stack. This discernment, a little checklist, if you will, that you can kind of run through to go who wore it better, me or AI? So these are 10 different categories, criterion, it's probably a better word, that I have found to be pretty powerful when I'm using AI as a tool. First and foremost, trust. If I'm telling somebody something that I have pulled out of the AI, you're goddamn right, I'm going to validate it, because trust takes one fake news to completely ruin. How do you build trust? Slowly, incrementally, over time, by creating safety and consistency. I build trust very quickly with people. I do not take that lightly. I'm not going to outsource that to AI ever. And the more information, the more research, the more knowledgeable I am, I'd like to believe that adds to my trust factor. So there's absolutely a give and take there, right? Which leads me to my second category, discernment. You knew that was coming. How do you know when something's good? How do you know that that's true? What are the signals for you to allow you to understand, am I using my discernment? For me, it's a feeling, and it's usually pretty instant, which can feel a little judgy. I'm generally pretty right for me. And that's something you'll hear me say often is, hey, I'm biased about. I was just getting into this discussion with a client that I'm working with. We had pulled in an expert, a neuroscientist, to help us with a product launch. And immediately the neuroscientist was like, knee-jerk response, this is going to be problematic. And then, went into some like 6-minute fucking defensive there. Like, I'm super open to this and would love to consult on the project, but blah, 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 blah. And I was like, yeah, we do not need your advice. We knew this. Like, you're not telling me anything I don't know, despite like your multiple degrees. Yeah, discernment, immediately no. How I combat that was I sat with it for 24 hours. And I went, okay, I'm having a really big feeling about this. We're going to get to a neutral space. And, about a work day later, I reached out to the person who had connected us. And I said, hey, I really appreciate that. Based on their feedback, I'm not sure they're a fit for this project. And if we do need to bring in a neuroscientist, she'll be on the short list. And they were like, wow, thanks so much for your feedback. No worries. We'll move along. That was my discernment. And that honesty goes back to the first category of trust. 3, context. Can you make decisions when the situation is messy, ambiguous, and emotional? So again, what we're talking about is the human advantage stack: trust, discernment, context. A lot of people are using AI right now for like dating advice. They're putting in text messages, or they're asking AI to like, I don't know, flirt with somebody on their behalf. Speaking with a lot of my single girlfriends and guy friends, it's wrong about 99.9% of the time. Like, sometimes it'll give you like a hot take, like a spicy read. It's still wrong. Like, the nuance of dating, I think, is a context that AI is far from understanding. And it can like synergize some psychological research studies, or like, I don't know, read some transcripts on fucking YouTube. But grain of salt, my friends, context. You have a human advantage there. Number 4, relationship density. Do you have real people in your life who know you, respect you, and want to collaborate with you? I was talking about this with a very good friend and artist, and he and I check in pretty regularly with each other, and have for, 7-10 years. And we've been through the shit independently, not together, but yeah, life is lifed. And we will call each other out when we are engaging in a negative pattern, when we're projecting, when we're in it and we're just feeling sorry for ourselves. Those friends that can be like, hey, like, you're having a moment, this too shall pass. Don't make any bad decisions right now. Call me tomorrow, or I'll call you. If you don't answer, I'll keep calling. Like, the people who check you, AI is not doing that yet. AI is like blowing sunshine up your skirt. I'm not sure if you've ever had a real chat with any of your learning models, but they're either programmed to tell you to like call a doctor, or that you're amazing and you need no advice whatsoever. So I don't know. The real people in your life that know you and can tell you their perspective on situations are invaluable. And you offer that to the people in your life as well. Number 5, accountability, follow through. AI is all about convenience. We can be inconvenient. I spent most of this week going outside and being in the sun because I haven't felt that in 4 or 5 months. That was incredibly inconvenient. It fucked up all of my workflow. I am currently recording on a beautiful Saturday afternoon as a result. Was that part of, AI's most efficient way of approaching my week? Absolutely not. Was that part of my operating system's most optimal runtime? Yes. You get to make those decisions, again, trust, discernment, context, relationship density, accountability. You, boo. 6 is embodiment. Can you regulate? A lot of people are using AI as their therapist right now. Why does that work? Because you are asking questions, you're writing thoughts down, you're reading, and you're actually calming yourself down in those moments. Are you outsourcing that to AI? I don't think so. I think you're doing the things that you could probably do any moment. Journal some thoughts, slow down, take a minute to experience what you're experiencing. These are things that humans can do. AI can't do that for you yet. 7, local knowledge. I was, it was First Friday yesterday, and I wanted, usually the art studios, the art galleries are all open on First Fridays. It's kind of a national phenomenon. And I wanted to go walk around because it was really nice out. And I got into ChatGPT and asked what galleries are going to be open and, are there any events occurring? And it gave me this whole long list. And as I started clicking through links, it was for last year. It was for years past. It was for not tomorrow or today, yesterday. It got the assignment, but did not pass the test. So again, there are things you will know and experience that you can summarize and synergize in moments. And AI is just not there yet. Humor. Say less. Timing and narrative. You can feel what matters now. And you can communicate it in a way that will land and last. Integrity. How many times have you gotten just bullshit, blatantly wrong answers from AI? There's no concept. It sounds so obvious, but truly, pick 5 of these that really resonate with you. These are going to be indicative of your values, but these are going to be your human advantage. Trust, discernment, context, relationships, accountability, follow through, embodiment, local knowledge, humor, timing, integrity. Those are your edges, my friend. Those are the things that no one can do the way you do. Okay, so let's talk about, now we know our edges. Where to from here? Because you know what else an edge looks like? It looks like a boundary. And as we build these edges, these containers, these sandboxes to play in, we can really lean into what are we going to develop to identify the values, what matters most, where are we going to lean into our human being. Let's talk about trust. Make a new friend. Increase trust with one real person. Make plans and show up. Or maybe you need to have a hard conversation with someone. Maybe you need to admit you made a mistake and to fix it. Speaking of dating, there was a gent from the past who had bought a ticket to a show to go see some music, and he didn't show, and I never heard from him again. We might refer to that as ghosting. That's, this dude was nothing to write home about. But the other day he was like, hey, do you want to hang out again? Winking, because if you know, you know. And he said, I would love to buy you a drink and pay you back for the show. And I said, my Venmo tag is at Nicole BZ. And he was like, yeah, see you at drinks. And I said, you might want to ask yourself why I would have a drink with you if you're not even willing to follow through on what you just said you were going to do. And he said, okay. And he did. He ended up paying me the Venmo. And he's like, I Actually, I'll save you the dating story. The point being, if you make a mistake, fix it. If you want to build trust, show the fuck up. If you want to create something, be consistent with each step that you take. Make that promise to yourself and honor it. If you trust you, so will they. Track your human being. Think about one skill, one thing you've told yourself you're going to do, write it down, start the timer, and spend 30 minutes on it. Maybe it's looking at local events to do an improv class or a mountain biking class, and then finding one, and then looking at how much money it costs, and then seeing if you can do that, and then putting it on your dang calendar. If not, and then budgeting for it, so on and so forth, right? Like, show up for you. Invest in one of the things that you want for you. Something I've been working on is editing. I'm really not great at it. You may have noticed that if you've been listening to this podcast for a while. Go back and review something you've created and make it better. Do the unsexy part. You can't see this, and that is by design. I'm surrounded by like receipts right now. I just need to file them because everything was submitted to the tax guy, and I'm very proud of myself for that. Thank you. But yeah, I need to fucking clean up my mess like a big girl. But honor that. Like, write it down, put it in your calendar, get yourself a cupcake or, I don't know, a treat after, like, kind of make a big deal about it. I had one of my team members reported back on like a very silly win, right? Like a somewhat I think it was like selling some retail or something like that. And they were like, oh my God. And they're like, I know this isn't a big deal. And I was like, every win we celebrate. I want you putting it in the Slack channel. I want balloons in my iText or iMessage, like create receipts to track your human being, whatever that looks like for you. And lastly, and this is a bias, absolutely, I would say like build connection and community. I don't know if that needs to happen geographically near you, but I hear everybody talking about being lonely. And then I see a lot of people not doing a whole hell of a lot about it. It is effortful to build relationship, to build trust, to invest in one of those human advantages, let alone 10 of them. So pick the one that jumped out at you and talk to somebody about it. I'll be your friend. You can at me, reply to this, and stick to it for a couple of days, maybe for a couple of weeks. Bonus points if you do it for a month. Something happens when we do something for about 28 days. And this isn't about motivation. This is about evidence. Prove it to yourself. Because when you make these changes, you stop feeling like your value as a human is a hope. It becomes observable, hence the receipts, hence the tracking, hence the evidence. Like, you can prove it to yourself that you matter. What's important to you matters because it's important to you. I'm like, oh my gosh, should I just do a self-help episode instead of a business episode? I think it all overlays because your business is taking what matters most to you seriously. And I've talked, wasn't exactly the conversation for why I think that. I can link you to a few episodes that do. But as your final kind of aha takeaways, something to think about is credibility. Do you believe in you? Why would others believe in you? What makes people believe in you, even when you're not at your best? Where are you really solid? Where are you trying to be impressive instead of dependable? What do you find credible? Why? Another question, what about magnetism? What makes people lean in? Not what you do, right? It's not your output. It's not your productivity. It's your presence. It's your clarity. Like, how real can you be? And this was something that was exploited on social media for a really long time. Like, be emotional, be raw, cry on camera. That's not what I'm talking about. It's almost like, I was at this community gathering the other day, and I was sitting with a bunch of people, and an older version of me would have felt the need to fill that space with commentary and conversation. But I was really happy to just listen. And if no one was talking, we just sat. And eventually someone would start again. We were talking about this at a dinner party that I hosted. Can you see how invested I am in community in the moment? And someone was saying it's pretty natural to have about 10 lulls in a conversation. And they tend to happen. I feel like it was like every couple of minutes, like 3-ish minutes. And someone else then said, oh man, what if you're like the last person to talk before that lull? Like, did you cause the lull? Like, are you that boring? And I was like, or what if everybody's just thinking about what you said? And they were like, oh, yeah, man. And then we had the lull and then we all laughed. It was pretty great. But that, what makes people lean in? It might just be that lull. And then lastly, my friend, ask yourself what keeps you steady when things go banana bonkers, when the worst occurs, or maybe just like you get a little disappointed. Somebody doesn't show up. Plans change. They don't text you back right away. You're going to discover deeper levels of your human advantage when you explore your credibility, your magnetism, and your durability. Something a friend of mine, Jessa Reed, talked a lot about was her personality was actually just her coping strategy for stress. And a lot of the bravado and confidence that she portrayed was complete bullshit. And it came from a place of deep fear and insecurity. And when she sort of leaned into her own human advantages, it turned out just being like really open and honest and authentic and actually like taking the time to get to a place where she felt secure was an incredible way of communicating and teaching and guiding. And it's really where everything kind of started to expand quite naturally for her, that magnetism, right? Durability is that difference between projecting and protecting versus being, especially when things get a little challenging, which they are right now. So hopefully this was useful for you. It felt like a good way to round out some of the AI like deep dives we've been doing, and especially with everything going on in the world right now, really tuning into you and what makes you you, because that's going to make you the best leader, builder, creator, trailblazer, rule breaker, revolutionary. And I think that's the new edge. We will no longer be able to be better than pretty much anything else. What we can be is incredibly trusted, skilled, connected, accountable to the things that fascinate us, me, you. Your job title can wobble, it might even disappear. Your income will wobble, it might even disappear. But the evidence you have, the confidence that you build, the trust in yourself, they don't diminish when those external factors are affected. And in fact, they are what will allow you to overcome any of those challenges. So I'm going to keep kind of playing with this. I want to talk a little bit. I'm looking at my notes for the next episode. I think I put an episode out a while ago called Growing Pains, maintaining momentum, managing money when things are as unstable as we are living every damn day. Chasing some of those old external factors, those old realities is not going to do it for us anymore, which is why we need to tune into like that human advantage so then we can leverage what makes us unique to inspire us to keep going, to find that internal, intrinsic motivation. And this is why like tracking, really tuning into, really noting in whatever way makes the most sense for you. Like, does this matter to me anymore? Am I actually lit up by this? Is this the work that needs to get done in order to do the things that I want to do? Am I able to kind of reframe? Or is this like a dead fucking timeline I just need to let go? So we'll get into that next episode. Thank you for being here. All the things you're supposed to do. Podcasts. Bye.